Hey everybody, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe, hope you're staying indoors if you can. That doesn't obviously apply now to the US state of Georgia. You'll be enjoying your nail bars again, and I'm sure that won't be a problem at all. Obviously, I'm not advocating going to nail bars in Georgia right now. That does appear to me to be extremely silly, but just in case you think I'm for that, I'm not, okay? I'm not for putting disinfectant in your body either, just to get that squared away before we start. So what I want to do today is look at what Disney might do if they were to implement Universal Orlando's questions that they posed to their annual pass holders this week. Disney must be thinking about the same kind of things, but they haven't asked their annual pass holders. I am one, and I've received nothing from them. SeaWorld must be doing the same. So I'm going to look at that. So what I'm looking at in this video, I'm actually going to do two videos. This one I'm going to look at parking and how that might be affected, trams, how that might be affected, entry to Magic Kingdom. I'm just looking at Magic Kingdom, I'm not looking at everything because that would just take way too long. So Magic Kingdom today. So parking, trams, entry, face coverings, see if they'll be required, park capacity, how that might be affected, park hours, whether they might be adjusted, who's getting in on day one, who gets in as the capacity is increased, what about international travellers, where do they feature in all of this, and finally, when will Disney World open in my view? So the second video, which I'm going to put out at the same time as the first one, so I'll put a link at the end, that's just going to look at Magic Kingdom and all of its rides and attractions. So there are 81, I think, rides and attractions plus parades. So 90 odd things to get through. So that's going to be a real whistle-stop tour of what I think is going to be open, in what position or place it's going to be open, how it's going to be open. So what might affect your enjoyment and what's going to be closed. Again, my view, but at least it'll give you some idea of how I think Disney may open on day one. Before we get kicked into the detail of this video, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. I've been doing a lot of news about COVID-19 in the US and in Florida, and my thoughts about when things are going to reopen, and it's pretty much daily at the moment. So if you want that kind of news, or more of this kind of stuff, I guess I'm going to be doing more of this kind of stuff until resort and park opening, then please subscribe, please hit the notification bell, and then you won't miss a thing. Okay, so let's get into it. What's going to happen to Magic Kingdom on day one of reopening, when they finally reopen? Looking at parking, if you're an annual pass holder, you now hand your annual pass and ID to the person in the booth. Hopefully now they can just scan through the window and you'll be on your way. If not, maybe they'll give you a QR code that you can store in your phone and they can just scan the QR. If you need to pay for parking, and I'll get around to who's going to be allowed in, but if you have to pay for parking, then I'm not sure you're going to be allowed to do that at the booth anymore. I think you might have to get an app, or it'll go onto My Disney app, and you'll have to pay for the parking prior to getting there, and that may then mean that you can use that parking not on the day that you pay for it, but on any day. But you know, once they've scanned it, that's it, you're done. So you pay for the parking, you get a QR code, you go to the booth and they scan the QR code and off you go. So it stops any social distancing issues. So when you've parked up and you've got to get on the tram, obviously if you're close enough, you'll just walk, and I'm guessing a lot of people will do that little walk anyway, between their car and the transportation and ticketing centre. If you do have to get a tram for whatever reason, I'm guessing that they're going to be on a much limited capacity. Instead of being every row, it's probably going to be every other row. But capacity should be that much reduced that it really doesn't matter. And I'm still guessing like a lot of people will walk, so tram should be okay. So entry to Magic Kingdom. Other ways. So getting from TTC to Magic Kingdom. Monorail, ferry, and maybe bus. So monorails I think will be operational, just there'll be reduced capacity again. But if capacity is limited in the park, then that should be okay. Ferry, same deal, much limited capacity just to keep social distancing. And then I think Disney might think about putting additional buses on as well, just to make sure that people can get to where they're going. Because you know, they can only put monorails through at a certain speed or a certain distance between. Ferries operate on, you know, they go, they come, they go, they come. They can't go any faster. So they might have to put on buses. Getting into the park, I think they're quickly going to go to facial recognition. They're doing that in airports now, so that would avoid any fingerprinting. I think they're going to take your temperature at the park as well, and I'm hoping they're going to do that through the same system as the facial recognition. I don't know if that technology exists. I hope it does. I can't see them doing a coronavirus test on everybody that wants to enter the park, because that would A, take time, B, take resources, C, would they need medical professionals to do it. I can't imagine that they'd allow cast members to do it, and would you want your swab taken by a cast member with no medical training or very little medical training? I wouldn't. So there aren't that many tests available in Florida anyway, so whether it was 12,000 or 50,000 people going into a park, there simply isn't enough tests in Florida or in Orlando to do that. So I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be temperature checks, and that's the way that they're going to determine whether you're fit to enter or not. I think you're going to have to wear not a mask but a face covering. I should have brought mine out. Maybe I'll do that at the end. I've got my Mickey Mouse face covering all ready to go. I'm ready to hit that park or the resort, and I think you're going to have to produce one or buy one, and they may have kiosks set up at the TTC before you kind of really enter the transportation mode or get into the park itself. I don't think they'll have masks for sale in and around the area where you enter the park, because that would just lead to queues. So I think you'll have to bring your own or get one at the TTC. Now once you're in the park, I think they probably will have them for sale, but that will be an additional mask or however many masks you want to buy or buy for others. So that's my my take on that. I think before you get in, there's going to be barriers with the 6-foot decals on the ground, similar to what they're doing now in Disney Shanghai. So they're preparing to open Disney Shanghai, and if you've seen my video, one of my videos from earlier this week, it shows photographs from Disney Shanghai with the barriers and the decals. So have a look at that. What kind of regime will the cast members be under? You know, what tests will they have to undergo? They're going to be in those parks every day with thousands of guests. So are they going to be having to take coronavirus tests every day? Again, I doubt it. There are thousands of cast members, even if only the cast members who were front-facing, so guest-facing, had to get tested. There's still thousands of them, so I just don't think that's an option. I think they're going to have to go through the same kind of temperature check when they check in for work, and then they're going to be either deemed fit or not fit, depending on their temperature, to work. And I think it's going to be as simple as that. I think they're going to have to wear masks as well. Some of them may have to wear gloves. If they don't have facial recognition up and running in time to open the park, I think they'll keep going with the fingerprints, but every guest that puts their finger on that fingerprint machine will have to be sanitized by a cast member, and then another guest will have their go. So yeah, I think the CMs are going to be under some kind of regime. So let's look at capacity in the parks. So Universal Orlando talked about a quarter capacity, half capacity, 2/3 capacity. So the Magic Kingdom holds around 50,000 guests. Disney don't publish that data, so that's what I've got from the internet. It's around 50,000. So a quarter of 50,000 is 12,500. So 12,500 I think would be a good start, because that would allow Disney to roll out this new world in Magic Kingdom. People will have to get used to it. Cast members will have to get used to it. Guests will have to get used to it. But I think 12,500 should provide enough of a run at it, if you like, for them to understand, is it working, is it not? And if it's working, then they can gradually increase the capacity. I think the experience for the guests, in as much as they've got distance between them, will be good. Now the other experience that they get, the main Disney experience, let's have a look at that soon, and I really will go into some depth on that one in the other video about every ride and attraction in Magic Kingdom and what to expect. But for now, I think 25% capacity is a good idea. So who's going to be let in then? If it's only 12,500 people, who's going to get first crack at the whip? I think it's going to be Florida residents with annual passes. You know, people with annual passes are loyal to Disney, obviously. Now, whether Disney will be loyal back to those people in the first instance, I don't know, but I hope that they will be. And the reason I think Florida residents with annual passes will be let in as well is that should minimise the distance that they're travelling. So even though the stay-at-home order will obviously be gone by that time and you'll be able to travel, people should still, I think, be minimising the travel they make for non-necessary trips. But you know, to me, Disney's a necessary trip once the ban's lifted. But now, should you be coming from out of state on a plane to come to Disney World, a lot of people will say, yes, why shouldn't I? You know, I deserve a vacation as much as anybody else. Agree. But Disney have got to start somewhere, so I do think they're going to start with Florida residents with annual passes. And another reason is that those annual pass holders usually know their way around the park, so they won't be kind of wondering where they're going. They should be knowing where they're going, what to expect when they reach a certain point. So what does that ride look like? What does that restaurant look like? What does that store look like? So another reason. So will it be all Florida resident annual pass holders, or will they want those people also to stay at Disney World resorts? Because I don't know how busy those resorts are going to be if people can't get into the park, even though they're staying at the resort. So will they say, yep, you can come in, but you've got to stay at a resort? Now, okay, I've got a booking. I'm staying at Port Orleans Riverside if it's open on the 1st of June. I'm going to stay in one night because I just want to understand how it's going to operate. And I don't think the parks are going to be open then anyway, but we'll get to that. If people are coming from more out of town, or they do a staycation, let's say they want to stay for a week, are those people going to get first shot at getting into the parks? I think they will, because I think that Disney need to generate revenue that they've lost, and I think they're going to get people to come and stay. Now, will they discount those hotels for a period of time? I really hope they will. If they do, I'll stay more than one night. You know, I'll take a week off work and I'll stay more than one night and really get my money's worth. But I still don't think the pools are going to be open in the resorts. I just don't think there's any water type events going to be happening at all. Any water parks will be open at all. But that's by the by. If they discount, I'll stay longer. If they discount, I suspect other people will stay longer, especially if you're going to have to stay to get into a park. So again, just food for thought. As Disney raised the capacity for Magic Kingdom from 12,500, will it then go to 25,000? Will there be a stop between 12,500 and 25? I don't know, but once you've kind of exhausted the Florida resident annual pass holders, then they should start allowing other people in. So at that point, I think they'll start letting US residents in from wherever, and whether they've got annual passes or not, maybe they'll restrict them to annual pass holders first, because again, I don't know how many annual pass holders there are total in the States, but they might say, okay, first of all, you only come if you're an annual pass holder. Second of all, you only come if you stay at a hotel, because again, that will keep the turnover of hotel rooms going. Disney have got 30,000 hotel rooms, so I'm sure that they're going to be limiting capacity as well. So let's say they only have half those rooms available, so that could be 15,000 rooms. So as they go through opening up the park, so I think it's going to be Magic Kingdom first. I did state reasons why it would be Magic Kingdom, my reasons why I thought it would be Magic Kingdom first in my April the 6th video, link here. And then I went through the other parks and I thought, well, that one, and then finally that one, and I gave my reasons why. So if we've got, so have a look at that video. If all of those parks are open, capacity for the parks is something like at 240,000. So if they get to a point where, so a quarter of that, you're getting onto 60,000. So that's quadruple the number of rooms probably that they're going to have available. So they're going to have to let other people in that aren't staying there and aren't annual pass holders, I believe. So US residents next, and then they're going to finally open it up to international guests. And I don't know exactly when that might be. My thoughts initially were August, but I think it's going to be a slower roll now. So I think that might actually be September, it might even be October, just because I think they're going to limit rooms, although there are a lot of other facilities that people can stay at, you know, off-site hotels and villas. So I think once Disney have maxed out or almost maxed out their 15,000, they're going to get people coming from other places, which is great. So I think capacity will increase steadily from 12,000, but I can't see it going beyond 50% until there's a vaccine. So 50% in Magic Kingdom is going to be 25,000 people. How are they going to determine which 25,000 get into Magic Kingdom, which people get into Animal Kingdom, which get into Hollywood Studios? and which get into Epcot. And I think there might be a system whereby you've got to tell them where you're going to stay. So even for annual pass holders that go day one, I think there might be either a lottery system or you first come first serve. If it's first come first serve and you don't turn up, I think then you might be penalised for not turning up, because then you're stopping somebody else going. So it won't be 12,500 people in the park; it'll be less than that. So it won't be like doing a fast pass and then not turning up for the fast pass where you don't get penalised at all. This is much more crucial to Disney's success and coming back. So I think if you say you're going, you go. If you don't go, maybe they'll stop you going for a month or something. But I really do think they'll introduce something like that. But once they've got more than one park open, I do think you're going to have to tell them where you're going to be going that day. Because once they reach capacity, they're going to stop. It's going to be like Rise of the Resistance when you've got to do virtual queuing. Once they're out of queuing groups, boarding groups, that's it, they're done for the day. And I think to avoid people just turning up on spec, hoping to get into the park, they won't want that, because there could be crowds of people doing that. So I think they're gonna say, okay, where are you gonna go? Okay, that's it. Once they've reached 12,500 for Magic Kingdom or whatever it is that day, stop, close that out. Next one, okay, Hollywood Studios. Once they've reached that capacity, that limit, done. And once they've reached them all, done. So I really think they might introduce that system, because it will just avoid people turning up hoping to get in. They won't want that. Next is, what will the park hours be? So they're going to open up in summertime. It's still going to be peak, and usually the park hours are quite extensive. I think they're going to reduce them markedly, probably maybe to 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I still think there'll be early magic hours and late magic hours for on-site guests, because that will hopefully then stagger the entrance into the park, and that will be helpful. So they'll constrain the park hours in order to really deep clean that park every night, so that they can gain trust, so that the guests can have trust in that when they turn up the next day, everything's spick and span again, sanitised, ready to go. I think rope drop's going to be a goner until we get a vaccine, just because I think they don't want to have crowds of people. I think there are going to be barriers and decals on the floor to queue people in, and then as soon as park gates open, all the rides and attractions are going to be open, because that'll stop people going to the edge of the circle near Magic, near the castle, to go to their particular rides of Frontierland, Fantasyland, Tomorrowland. It'll stop that happening. So you'll walk in, you'll go to wherever you want, Main Street, and you'll go to whichever ride you want to go to, and I think that'll help in social distancing. I think all indoor attractions and restaurants may need to have increased capacity in their AC. I think there might need to be more air changes required, just to stop the possibility of anybody with coronavirus transmitting that through the AC system to somebody else in a restaurant or an indoor ride. I did see something that said that there was somebody in China, I think it was, which infected 12 or 15 people in that restaurant, simply because the air got recirculated and people got contaminated. So I'm sure Disney will be looking at that as well. I think the character meet and greets will go ahead in some capacity, but I think there'll be social distancing. You won't be able to cuddle the character. You won't be able to shake hands with the character. I think there will be that 6 foot separation, so the character will either be behind you or to the side of you, depending on the situation. But if Disney don't have characters, what's the point? Half of the thing about Disney, especially for kids, is meeting characters. So I think they will still be there in some capacity. I think they'll all be there, but the interaction will be much different for a while. Food outlets, I think, will become cashless. So that app that they've got now for certain restaurants, I think they'll roll out for all quick service and counter service restaurants. And I think that's a great idea anyway. I use it. They won't want people passing cash over the counter. If they can avoid it, they won't even want people putting a card into a machine. So that'll be great, because then it'll be do your food on your app, go and collect your food, go away. If it's a sit-down restaurant, I think they'll all be open, but with limited capacity. The buffets won't be buffets anymore. They'll, I think, be served family style. And then if you want more food, then the server will bring your food as required. Character buffets, I still think will go ahead. Character meals will still go ahead, but again with reduced capacity, so that the characters can walk in between the tables with that 6 foot gap. You won't be able to approach the characters. They won't approach you, but at least they'll be there. Any buffet style character meals, again, I think will be replaced with family style meals. So you'll still get all the food that you want. It's just that the server will bring your food to you. So I think that's the way that on day one Magic Kingdom will open. I think it's going to be different. It's going to be uncomfortable for some people, especially wearing masks in what might be 95 degrees of heat and a lot of humidity. But if you want to go right now, I think that's going to be the price, or part of the price you pay for going. Some other prices that you're going to pay are going to be, not all the rides are going to be operational. There's going to be limited capacity. I don't think the shows and parades are going to be on. But again, I'm going to go into detail in a lot more detail in the next video. So there's going to be a card at the end of this video that takes you straight to that one. So if you want to just roll in to that video, this one's going to be about 20 minutes long. So that one, I'm guessing, is going to be about half an hour long. I haven't filmed it yet, so I don't know. So, if you want to get your cups of tea or coffee or whatever and roll straight into that one, please be my guest. And if you don't, then that's okay too. Maybe bookmark it and have a look at it for when you do have some time. And that's really it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you food for thought and gave you a bit of a thought about, do I want to be part of that? Because that's going to be a lot of it. I do, but that's just me. Other people will have their own considerations, and I'm not going to flout any social distancing measures that are put in place. I just want to be there and experience it. So please don't think bad of me and don't judge me. I'll be back in the next video. Take care, stay safe, stay indoors unless you're in Georgia, and if you're in Georgia, don't act silly. Alright, I'll see you in the next one, but for now, bye bye.